when you see the house, I've got 4 beautiful homes. I've got the jet. I've got all the cars you would ever want in your life. And I can tell you those are all things I want you to have. I don't like when people say, hey, material things won't make you happy. It's a total lie. Material things make you very happy. Ask any guy in the room who's ever got, a new truck or a new car. It makes you happy. Ladies, I'm not, by the way, I don't mean to be sexist when I say this, but you get like those pair of shoes you've really wanted for a long time. It makes you happy, right? But it doesn't last long. It doesn't fulfill you. So what I want to have happen today, I hope, is this experience that we talk about happiness, but we also talk about fulfillment. I don't want you to make all your financial goals happen and find yourself unfulfilled. I know more people with money that aren't fulfilled than I do people without money. And so if you can't find a way to be happy before you have it, listen to me, put your phones down. This is not a time to be thinking about something else, unless you're filming me. That part's okay, all right? This is if you can't find a way to be happy in this moment, in this time right now, I promise you, when you arrive at wealth, you are going to bring you with you. And it will only magnify the things you don't like about yourself when you get a bunch of money. I learned that firsthand. But I think it's important that you not always just see the after, that you also see the before. Because as an entrepreneur, you're all entrepreneurs now, right? You're going to have false start after false start. You're going to get it going, and then it's going to go backwards. You're going to make progress, and it's going to go backwards. You're going to think you have a deal, and then you don't. You're going to make money on 3 deals, and then you won't. It's going to get going and go backwards. It happens as an entrepreneur over and over and over again. How many of you at this stage, if you're being honest, are sort of at that stage where you're kind of faking it until you make it? Anybody in that category? And do any of you have so that's only a few of you. How about the rest of you? Do any of you have anybody in your life telling you you're crazy to be trying to do what you're doing? Anybody talking a little smack? Any haters? How many of you have total support around you? Let me raise your hand. Let me see. Okay, so 3% of you. Okay. I'm going to show you who I was before all the crap you've seen that I have, that you think I have, okay? I'm going to show you something right here. What car is that right there? What is it? Say it out loud. You got to stay with me. Okay, that's a Mercedes-Benz, right? Not. I want you to not see jets and houses and Ferraris and videos when you look at me. I want you to see who I really am. Here's who I really am. I'm the son of an alcoholic who's been sober a long time. I come from a wonderful, beautiful family, but a dysfunctional family, like some of you come from. I come from lower middle class upbringing. I'm an incredibly shy and insecure person naturally. I'm the type of guy that if I saw you from high school and we were at the mall, as much as I'd love to reconnect with you, to this day, I would duck into a store and hide so we don't have that interaction. Yet I speak in front of millions of people. That's how I am. I know what it's like not to believe in yourself. I know what it's like to have doubt. I know what it's like to have that kind of doubt as of last Monday. I know what it's like to be backstage hoping you like what I talk about today, even though I've given hundreds of speeches just like this. Not the same content, but the same thing. So I tell you, when I tell you that I have respect for you, that I admire what you're trying to do with your life, I mean that sincerely. I know what it's like to want to change your life's conditions. I know what it's like to want to win for your family. And I know what it's like to not be totally sure you're going to do it. And I know what it's like to fake you can't make it until you do. Let me explain to you. That's actually not a Mercedes. Let me explain something to you, okay, about what I did when I started to become an entrepreneur. I did pretty well in the beginning, and then I went broke. I did pretty well, and then I went broke. I was humbled many times. The Lord has a way of guys with big egos like me of humbling us over and over and over again until we figure out we need Him in our life if we're going to win long term. And I'm not here to preach at you. I'm just telling you what my personal story is, okay? And so I got to the point, my wife and I were so broke, not only did I lose my first home, foreclosed on, I was 6 months married. My wife had to go get a job because me as an entrepreneur, Mr. Stud here, Mr. $400 million, I couldn't even pay our bills. And the third day she had that job, she went out to the parking lot and said, babe, she came back in the morning. I was still asleep in bed, and she had gotten up to go to work. She says, babe, it got worse. Our car was stolen. Now we're down to one car. And I'm like, my God, Lord, can you make it any worse? My family thinks I'm nuts. I had a decent job before all this. I've lost a house. Now I've lost the car stolen, except it was worse than that. I found out 2 hours later it was not stolen. It was repossessed. A week after that, our power got turned off. That's pretty emasculating as a newlywed, as a man. A week after that, the worst thing you can have happen to you in terms of utilities happened. We got our water turned off. It didn't get turned back on for 2 months. We went 2 months with no water. And here I am with my new bride, who I met when I was 5 years old, by the way. I promised her all our childhood I was going to make our dreams come true, and we were going to win, and we were going to live special, and I was going to be somebody, and she believed it. Finally marries me, finds herself with a house foreclosed on, car repoed, power off, and now every morning we would get up because there was no running water. We couldn't cook, we couldn't shower or bathe. In the new apartment I moved her into, we would get up, gather our things, and go down to the pool, and there was one outdoor shower there. And I'd hold a towel up as my new bride took her shower every single morning and brushed her teeth outside. And then she'd do it for me. And then we would walk back up the stairs, completely emasculated, completely shamed. And I'd send my wife out to her job as I tried to go win as an entrepreneur. So when I tell you I understand the journey and I admire and respect you, I may admire and respect you even at a level most people don't. I know what it's like to fail. And then once I started to turn it around, I wanted to win so bad, I was going to fake it till I made it. And I had a team of agents that was working with me in my practice, and everyone's ripping on me for my bad car. And I read an article in the Penny Saver. You guys remember the Penny Saver? Does that still exist? I don't even know. In the Penny Saver, and it said, Kit Car Mercedes. Kit Car Mercedes. And as I read a little further, it said, want to turn your Chrysler LeBaron into a Mercedes-Benz? I got one, $5,500. And I drove down and I met this lady, and she had a car that was a Chrysler LeBaron where they stripped the frame off the car. And they Velcroed, listen to me, they Velcroed to the car the body of a Mercedes. You think I'm kidding? I'm going to prove it to you in a minute. They Velcroed it. Now, the really good kit cars were at least welded together. Mine was put together with Velcro. I paid her the $5,000. I rolled that car up to the office to my guys. I'm like, hey guys, we're balling. We're all going to be wealthy. What do you think of my new Mercedes? 6 of them believed it. One of them who knew Mercedes is like, it looks a little longer, and why does it have a back seat? I'm like, well, I don't know if you've been reading. You have the little BS. It's an entrepreneur. I know you've been reading, but Chrysler and Mercedes had just merged. This is the first hybrid car they've made. So the inside's a Chrysler, the outside's a Mercedes, but it's a Benz, man. My guy's like, oh, that sounds legit. Yeah, cool. The AC only blew out heat. I drove around. By the way, I would drive on the freeway, and people would be looking at me like, what the heck? Laughing at me. I'm like, hey, I think they think I'm cool in my cheap suit from Men's Warehouse, right? And let me tell you about this car. This is what I did. So just in case you don't believe me, just so you know, you can see here, Mercedes-Benz SL600 fiberglass full body kit for sale. Which one's the real Mercedes, by the way? Can you tell from looking? Because they're still for sale. You can go get one right now. You won't find one with Velcro, but you could find one welded together. Look at some of you getting ideas right now. That one, that's the LeBaron. That's my old car. That was my car. I drove that car for a year. Let me tell you what would happen when I pull up to a light. You want to know what I pull up to a stoplight? I had to really slow down like about 50 feet in advance, because as I got closer and closer and closer to the light, if I had to stop short, the front headlight would fly off into the intersection. So literally probably 400 times in my life, I've gotten out of my vehicle at an intersection, walked out of the damn car, stopped traffic, grabbed my light, walked back to my damn car, and stuck it back on with Velcro and got in my vehicle. Well, everyone in the intersection is losing their damn minds. See, I was willing to do whatever it took to win as an entrepreneur. A little while after that, my best friend's a guy named Dan Charlier. He's an African-American guy. We had a retreat up in Lodi, California. We had to drive up there, and he said, Mylett. He says, Eddie, there's no brothers in Lodi. I'm like, Charlier, stop with this race stuff. There's brothers in Lodi. He's like, no, dude, I'm telling you, I looked it up. There are no brothers in Lodi. And if you drive up there with me, some bad shit's going to happen. Excuse my language. I'm like, you're crazy. It's all in your head, dude. Sure enough, we go up there. I bring my team with me for a business retreat just like this. All my agents, my whole office. The meeting ends. We got to drive back to the hotel. And I don't really know the way, so we're kind of intersecting through these vineyards. All of a sudden, whoop, lights behind me. Charlie goes, I told you, dude, you're driving with a brother in Lodi. I'm like, yeah, out of your mind, dude. We pull over, and the cop does not get out of the car for a few minutes. He's shining that light right in my car. Remember this, my whole team's parked behind me down the road watching what happens here. This is an entrepreneur's journey. We'll get into the stuff, but you need to know this. So he's shining light. All of a sudden, another car comes up, another cop car. There's 4 cop cars now. Guns are drawn. He walks up to my window and goes, stick your hands out of the car. I'm like, what did I do? He goes, stick your hands out of the car. I'm like, sir, okay. He opens the door. I get back. I get handcuffed. Charlie A gets in. Dude, I told you, brother, in Lodi. And we go sit back in the back of this police car, me and him. And they won't tell me what the hell I'm doing back there, but I know my team's back there going, freaking Mylett, always grabbing his nose. He's probably a cokehead. I always knew it, you know. He's always intense. Veins are always sticking out of his head. Finally, the police officer leans in. I said, sir, can you tell me what I'm being arrested for? He goes, I think we both know. I'm like, no, we both don't know. He goes, that's a stolen vehicle. I'm like, stolen vehicle? Did I not turn the title in? Did they give me title? Oh my God. He thinks it's a Mercedes. I said, sir, come back, come back. Finally, I'm kicking. Yeah, what? I said, you're not going to believe this. Did you run the plates? Yeah, man, it runs to a Benz. It's a stolen car. Sir, you're not going to believe this. That's actually it's a Chrysler LeBaron, sir. I'm looking right at it. It's a Mercedes, man. I said, sir, if you go up and on the driver's side door, just pull on it real hard, it'll pop right off. It's Velcroed on there. You imagine what is this a DUI now? I'm like, no, sir, I'm telling you, the car is Velcroed together. Sure enough, he gets the other guys and we're in the back seat. No one on my team, all of them still think it's a Mercedes. And he walks up to the car and he looks at it, they're all looking at each other, and he pulls my door right off. He goes, ah! The cops are falling, spins my door on the top of his hand. The cops are falling out. My whole team sees my car is now Velcroed together. And we are eventually allowed back into the vehicle. I tell you that story because I know what it's like to fake it till you make it. Let me tell you the cool thing. I'm a closer, though. We got back to the hotel. There's a guy on my team named Rob Day. Rob goes, what the hell's up with the car? I go, look, dude, between me and you, it's one of these hybrid Mercedes things. You need to get one of these, dude. I'll sell it to you right now for what I'm into it. And he bought that car for me 2 days later. Sold my own guy, right? I'm here to shake you up and get you to remember what I say today. Because this information goes nowhere if you don't separate yourself by leveraging the pain of where you are or the pleasure of where you're going. And you best get in a hurry, because you only got 8 years of life, by the way, just so you know. You only live 8 years. Average person lives 78. You spend 28 of those years sleeping. You spend 10 and a half to 12 of them working. You spend another 3 or 4 shopping, chores, internet, traffic, add it up, you get 8 years. And you're not a newborn, so you got less than that. You got to get in a hurry to make a difference in your life. Time is running out like that. When I was a kid growing up, I don't know if you had this, my mom had the good china in a china cabinet. We had this furniture in the living room that was wrapped with cellophane that we weren't allowed to sit on until important people came over. Anybody have any of that in their house? We never got around to sitting on it. And it died and got stale and old and dated, and so do dreams. If you don't start getting after your dream, it'll get old and dated and stale because you keep wrapping it in cellophane. You keep waiting until you know a little more. Till I know a little more. Till I know a little more. If I just knew a little more, that's BS. You don't need to know a little more. You need to execute a little more. You need to get after it. You need to make some mistakes. Perfection is the lowest possible standard. Quit trying to be perfect. You don't need to know everything. The best people I know in business, they take action when they don't know everything. They learn what they can and they go execute. They make a mess. Being an entrepreneur is messy. And you need to embrace the mess. Embrace the chaos. You're never going to know everything you think you need to know. That's why my low IQ, and I'm not kidding when I say that, is to some extent an advantage. I don't think about all the stuff I don't need to know. I started on social media 2 years ago. I'm the #1 growth person in the history of business on social media, according to Forbes magazine. The way it started, Tony Robbins sitting on my balcony says, you need to get into this space. There's nobody that's an heir apparent. You're a better speaker than me. You know more of this stuff than me. And all these other clowns don't know what they're talking about. Get in the space. I said, I don't want to do that. I'm shy. I'm introverted. I just like speaking on the stage and leaving. I don't want to be posting stuff every day. He goes, that's why you're an effing loser. Right on my balcony, on that copper house you seen there. I said, I'm a loser. He goes, yeah, you say you want to help all these people, but you don't want to be inconvenienced to do it. I said, dude, I don't even know how all this stuff works. He's like, you think I know all this stuff works? Just start, dumbass. My son was in the kitchen. I said, Max, go get your phone. How do you do this thing? He goes, Dad, you need an account. I go, set me up one. He comes back 5 minutes later. He goes, I got you an Instagram account. I go, okay, good. I'm going to do one of those videos. And he literally goes, it has to be a minute. I said, a minute? I don't even clear my throat in a minute. How the hell am I going to make a message to me? He goes, just do it. And I said, blah, 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 post that one. Next day, I got 3 followers and 3 likes. I called Tony. I go, this crap isn't working. He goes, you done one message, dumbass. He goes, by the way, post earlier in the morning, like around breakfast time. I'm on my boat driving to his house. I go, okay, breakfast time. And then I hear him say, I swear to you, this is true. I hear him say, what I hear is he goes, you need to post early, like around breakfast time, and make sure you add some hash browns to that. And I don't want to be embarrassed and act like I don't know anymore. So I call my son, and I said, hey, you said you knew what you were doing on this stuff. Where the hell are the hash browns on this post? And I'm not playing around. If you don't know, I'll hire somebody who does. You're 15, you should know how this stuff works. He goes, Dad, I go, you're supposed to post at breakfast time, and somehow there's hash browns involved. Hashtags. And then Tony was my first guest. Then I recorded my first podcast. Listen to me. This will relate to you, and then I'm going to get into some details. So I said, Tony, how do you do one? He goes, I don't know. Google it. I have the #1 podcast in the world now. Tony, Grant, Gary Vee combined less downloads than me. They've been doing it for years. I've been doing it for like 18 months. Why is that? By the way, you should be listening to my podcast. Okay, why? So this is literally what happens. I go, how do you say it? He goes, what the hell, Tony? Tony's like, what are you talking about? How do you say it where it gets in your computer? He goes, you probably need a microphone, dude. I don't know. Google it. So I Google how to start a podcast. Tim Ferriss, turns out, I didn't even know who that was, had an audio on how to start a podcast. I listened to the audio. He says, go to Amazon. I got a kit, the microphone, the recorder, that other stuff. So I order Tim Ferriss's kit, right? I get it to my house, I plug the mic in, I stick it, and I talk for like 30 minutes, my first podcast. And then I'm done. And I call Tony, I go, hey, I did it. How does it get out of that box into the world? He goes, I think you need to take that stick out and stick it in your computer. I'm on the phone with him. I go, okay, it's in there. He goes, save it. I go, okay, it's on the computer. Okay, cool. And we hang up. And then like an hour later, I go, so how do people know that's in my computer? You think I'm kidding? I swear to God. How do I know this is in my, and I call, I go, hey, how's it get out of my computer into the, the internets? He's like, I don't know that part either. I just record when my team does it. I go, I don't have a team. I got Max. He doesn't even know about hash browns. And then I finally figured out he had the host thing. Do you think if I waited around to know everything, this would not have happened? You take action. The Lord has a way. When you step into a new space of revealing to you the people, places, resources, and things you need in that space, and you go from there and you go to the next one.